Should you buy or lease your car? What's up everyone, welcome back to Free to Be, and this week we're going to be talking about the options when it comes to getting a new car. Is it better to purchase one or should you lease it? Well, we're going to be talking about some of my experiences as well as some tips that you should consider before making the decision, so let's get started. Alright, now if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below because we do cover a wide variety of topics in the financial literacy world and we release videos every Sunday. And if you're not new, thanks again for coming back. Alright, so guys, a little bit about myself. I'm currently in the market to get a new car and I've been kind of mulling over the options that I have. Should I buy or should I lease? Well, I can tell you that I've done both before and the experiences are a little different, right? So currently the car that I have, I actually ended up leasing it first and then purchasing it afterwards. And would I do it again the same way? Probably not. But you know, it varies. Your options vary obviously depending on your circumstances and your needs. So there's definitely a few questions you should ask yourself that I've asked myself in the past as well before you decide which route is better for you. So the first thing you're going to want to ask yourself is, do you drive a lot, right? Do you have a long commute or you're going to need the car on a daily basis? These are things that you kind of have to figure out because that will matter when determining if you want to lease or buy, because leases are usually capped at a certain amount of mileage per year and then you have to pay extra for any extra miles that you incur. So it's good to determine what you're going to basically need or how much driving you're going to be doing with the car that you're purchasing. If you have a long commute that's 50 miles each way, you might want to look into buying over leasing. Or if you're driving, a few times a day and it racks up to about the same 50-60 miles a day, leasing might not be the best way to go about it. For me, I probably drive anywhere between 200 to 300 miles a month. So that's why last time I was considering leasing, because 300, 400 miles a month or 200, 300 miles a month, they are well below the threshold that falls for the guidelines. Most leases are 10,000 miles a year, 12,000 or 15,000. So, let's say 500, even 500 miles a month still only accounts for about 6,000 for the year. So you're well below that threshold. And in that case, maybe leasing is the way to go. So the second thing you have to determine is this a long-term need for you? Are you going to need a car for, the foreseeable future? Or have you been relocated to a new city and only need a car for 2-3 years? Or just, trying to figure it out itself if car ownership is for you? Basically, figuring out that need might determine for you whether you should buy or lease, because again, leases are usually short-term. 3 years is the standard, but it could go up to 4 or 5 year leases, a little bit more rare. But if it's a short-term need and you don't know if you're going to need the car 5, 8, 12 years from now, then maybe the better option is to lease as opposed to buying. And the third question you're going to want to ask yourself, and something that I always consider as well, is how does it fit into your budget, right? You have to determine whether you want a higher monthly payment, and if that's the case, you're going to probably be going the buying option, or if you want a lower monthly payment, but you're going to be paying for, as long as you're leasing a car. Figuring that out into the budget and how it works, there are some more upfront costs with ownership. You're gonna have to put some more money down as opposed to a lease where you can probably, figure out a lease with zero down or even, only a couple $1,000s down. You have to kind of figure that out, how that works into your budget, because that is something you're gonna wanna consider, and you're always gonna wanna consider your budget whenever it comes to any kind of purchase in life. So definitely think about that. All right, so what are some key differences between leasing and purchasing a car? Well, the first thing is the cost, specifically the upfront cost. Buying a car usually has a little bit more of an upfront cost when doing so, because you're going to have to put in a bigger down payment to get that car. Now, in doing that, you're also going to probably incur a higher monthly payment. So that is, something to consider if you're buying. Leasing, on the other hand, you could probably get away with putting almost nothing down and you would have a lower monthly payment. So you could end up leasing a car that might normally be out of your price range. So for example, if you were looking to buy a $25,000, $30,000 car because you were concerned about the down payment and the monthly payments, you could end up probably leasing a $50,000 to $60,000 car with the same monthly payments as you would if you bought that $30,000 car and put maybe like 5-8% down or whatever you may put down for it. So that's a quick difference in terms of money, so you should definitely factor that in. And the next thing to note between the two is when you own a car, when you purchase a car, you have the option basically to pay off that loan. And once you pay off that loan, you eliminate your monthly cost. You eliminate that reoccurring payment that you're making on a monthly basis. When you lease, you're going to be paying a monthly amount for as long as you're leasing a car. So that's one thing to consider. And again, it has to do with the budget and how you are going to handle making those payments on an ongoing basis. Now, the next thing to consider again is going to deal with the length that you need this car for. So if you're going to lease a car, you're probably going to be stuck into a contract for the term of that lease, 2-3 years. They're kind of difficult to break. So you have to consider the fact that once you sign that lease, you're basically in it for the term length of that lease. Whereas if you purchase a car, you have the option to sell it. As long as you sell it for a little bit more than whatever you owe on it, you could pay off the loan and walk away. It's a little bit easier to manage the need for the car if you own it as opposed to lease it. Really, the last difference here is you got to determine what you're trying to get out of this in terms of owning or leasing, right? If you own it, as soon as you drive that car off the lot, your car depreciates in value. Yes, you'll get to use it for as long as you have it, and you can maintain it and enjoy it for 20 plus years if you treat it right. Whereas with a lease, there is no depreciation because you don't actually own anything. You're basically renting this car. And if you like upgrading your car every few years, then definitely the lease is the way to go. But again, you're just going to be paying a monthly payment for as long as you're leasing cars. So yeah, I could trade in my car every 3 years and get a new model, but I'm going to have that same payment forever, right? I'll never have a scenario where I've been able to pay this car off if I'm continuously changing the lease or getting a new car or leasing a new car. So again, it really ultimately comes down to your needs for the car, right? Do you even need a car, right? It's just a matter of determining what that is before you know which way to go, whether you should own or lease, because there is no right or wrong answer here. It's again, just based on your budget, your needs, and that's what it comes down to. And finally, the thing you should consider the most is how the ownership or even leasing a car affects your total budget overall, because it goes beyond just the initial costs incurred to get the vehicle. You have to think about the recurring costs that are going to take away some of that money out of your budget. Things like gas, insurance, maintenance. Cars require to have their oil changed or tires changed or brakes changed. Things like that. Those are costs that you're going to have to incur whether you own or you lease. Parking fees. Just think about how this is going to dynamically shift or alter your whole budget beyond just, the $300 monthly payment or the $2,000 you used as a down payment. There's going to be additional costs as well. Car ownership is not cheap. All right, guys, so that's all I got for you. Did you enjoy this video? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time.